Hello everyone. My name is Ashwin, and I'm a third year PhD student in filmmaking. Thank you for joining us today. Along with me, we have Rosemary, Natalie, and Beatrice. I'll let them introduce themselves. This is basically a question and answer session that is conducted for the ACI, the Arts and Creative Industry. So please feel free to type in your questions, and I'll start without wasting any time. So, the first question, can you give us some background on yourself and an overview of the subject area you teach? So, any one of you can start first.
So shall
I'll
I?
jump.
I'll jump. I'll do. Go on,
Yes.
Natalie. No, you start. Go on.
I'll jump in, shall I? Then you go next, pictures. So I'm Natalie Garrett Brown, and I'm head of Department for Music, Writing, and Performing Arts. My background is dance and performance, so that's the kind of area that I've taught in universities many years, and that's where my professional practice sits. So passing over to Beatrice.
Thank you. So I'm Beatrice Newman. Hi, everybody. I'm the head of department for fashion at UEL. My career spans 10 plus years. I've been teaching for that time in numerous institutions, and now at UEL leading an amazing team of professionals and industry tutors. I have my own business called Koleki. It's a fashion women's wear brand, going from strength to strength each year. A lot of my focus really is not just fashion education, but then how that really develops into sustainable fashion businesses and enterprise. And I'd be looking forward to answering any questions as we go along. And I'll sort of segue or pass over to Rosemary.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you today. My name is Rosemary Stott and I'm the head of department of media, and these three departments form the School of Arts and Creative Industries. So my background is in film. I've taught for many years in film, starting off in Germany actually, so working in a film school and studying film, making film sometimes, but mainly I'm a film historian. I'm an sort of internationally recognized scholar in film in Germany, particularly East German film, and I'll maybe tell you later how I got interested in that.
So, thank you so much for the introduction. So, the second question is, can you tell us the story behind your career? I'm sure people would love to know this. Okay, so starting off with Beatrice, please. Or, yeah.
That's fine. I can go. um, like many of you looking to study at UEL, for fashion, for instance, I started my career as a student. Um, I did a BTEC national diploma because fashion or the creative subject, I thought it would be great to get more vocational skill based and just really understand what area of the arts, if you will, that I would like to go in. So I actually studied photography, studied a bit of graphic design and also fashion. I had a knack for fashion. I always wanted to do it. So I think the BTEC gave me some confidence to just go with it. And I guess the rest is really history. I did my BA and then later my MA at London College of Fashion, where my collection was viewed at the Victoria and Albert Museum amongst a select number of students. So for me, that was one of my highest achievements as a student, and really setting a foundation for my career. So later, a year after that show, I actually launched my business. And just been really understanding how business really works within a creative subject, because it's something that's not necessarily discussed, or in my time in education, something that was really being taught. So a lot of failures, but a lot of learning as we go along, and now eventually success as we continue to grow and move forward. And it's sort of those successes that I build into my learning and teaching at places such as UEL. My educational career started as a volunteer, actually, with an amazing charity that unfortunately is no longer existing, called Fashion Awareness Direct, or FAD for short. And again, it was just a word of mouth, or networking, if you will, that got me into teaching. Someone told me yesterday that I am not a teacher, and I said, well, you don't teach until you do. I guess what that really means is you gain experience as you go along, and as long as you're really good, I guess talking about methodology and just sharing your practice, it is a form of teaching, and that's really how my career grew in fashion, and now here I am today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Natalie, if you can.
Yeah, for sure. So I began doing out of school and out of college performing arts, and had lots of great teachers who encouraged me to take it to the next step. So my background is I trained in contemporary dance in 2 of the London conservatoires. But I think what I'd like to just perhaps highlight here is how I've always combined making work, performing and teaching right from the beginning. So for me, it's always been an entwined pathway, and then more recently in the last 10 years or so, being involved in higher education at a kind of leadership level. So I think I would just encourage anyone who perhaps hasn't yet found their way into formal education or training for their interest or their passion in creative arts industries, whether that's performing arts or media or fashion or writing or music, to know that there's many pathways in and many ways forward from that, and to really embrace kind of what your skill set is and move towards that. I didn't have any formal training in those areas until I went to kind of degree level study. So just good to name that, I think. And the other thing I think that's really important to me at the moment is collaborative working and interdisciplinary working. And I see that when I'm working with my great team at the university, but also my creative work. So whether that's working with photographers or lighting designers or costume designers, and like the enterprising aspect of what we teach at UEL, that's another really strong theme of what we encourage students to build their expertise in while they're with us. Handing over to Rosemary, perhaps.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Hello again. So as I mentioned, my discipline is film. And when I studied, it was very difficult to find a degree in film. So I actually studied literature, and that gave me a passion for storytelling. And then I also studied languages. So I've always had a strong interest in film in different cultures and how film is received in different cultures. And I think we really bring that to the fore as well in the University of East London, where we're a very diverse community. We like to explore the media and the arts and film in different cultures, really, melting pot of different experiences. And our curriculum is certainly not restricted to just film in the UK. So that's, I think, why I'm passionate about being at University of East London, because I've always made it really my interest to combine that sort of different interest in languages and culture as well as film. But as I said, I'm a film historian above all. But I've seen how the media disciplines have changed over the last 10 to 20 years whilst I've been teaching in higher education. And it's much more about getting hands-on now. And Ashwin here, he's studying filmmaking. And as I said, when I started out, that was really hard to find a course on that. It's hard to believe now. So we really embrace that at the University of East London, and our facilities for making media are very good. We have specialist studios, and we also have a range of technical facilities, and above all, the people, the technicians and the industry-focused staff who can support you in making those films. So I think I would say I wish I could have studied at University of East London, but as I say, I've seen and made and really hopefully contributed to that shift in those disciplines. And as I said, I worked in Germany in a film school. That was one of my first jobs, and that really inspired me when film school education has now come into universities, really. So, you don't need to go to a specialist film school. We do it all, and you have the benefits of everything that a university can offer, which is interacting, as Natalie said, with other subject areas, other disciplines, learning within a context of great facilities and interaction with many, many different people. I'll stop there.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. So what inspires you to teach in this field of study? What does inspire you in this field of study that you teach? Yeah, Natalie, if you can go first.
Yeah, sure. Happy to jump in. Oh my God, there's so much inside of that, isn't there? So that's such a great question. I think there's many things, but one of them I would name is the opportunity to work with people that are going to be the next generation in the industry or in that creative arts practice. And that can be students that are coming in at foundation level right through, like yourself, to PhD level, right? And it doesn't matter what level of student you're working with, you're always going to be learning something from them, as well as guiding them and kind of taking them into the world that you know and that discipline that you know. And I suppose really specifically for dance, there is something very special about being in the studio and figuring stuff out together, and really in that live exchange of knowledge and skill building that I really still love after many years of being in a studio. But maybe I'll pass over to Beatrice now to add to that.
Yeah, sure. No, I think that's, I would say exactly the same thing. It's that sense of community. I think also when we talk about the creative subject, it's really about, enterprise again, and how do we move forward in not just developing our arts and our passion, but then how do we bring it forward to the world and hopefully, create a living out of it. Because we all know that art subjects don't necessarily get the credit that it deserves, and how we really support society. And a world without arts is detrimental, I think. So we're really just as important as you will find us with other academic subjects. And so I think you'll find, I agree with Rosemary, I wish I came to UER, because there's such a focus on enterprise. And how does that work within the creative industries? And it's I think a challenge, but a really good challenge, because it gets you thinking outside of the box. It gets you thinking about historical and traditional methods, but also what newer methods there are. So for example, at UER, we're really looking now into technology, and not necessarily just digital, but it's also like new ways of thinking, critical thinking, new ways of exploration. In, for instance, if it's dance, in fashion, it's new machinery and how you develop things from idea to, conception. And even in film, as Rosemary said, working with diverse cultures, diversity is such a strong theme. So I think in a nutshell, I would say, three main themes for us at university is sort of enterprise, diversity, and community.
Thank you. And Rosemary?
Yeah, no, that's great. So yeah, the question is about what inspires me. I mean, it inspires me every day in our environment, as Beatrice says. That's a brilliant answer, Beatrice. And we're all teachers, so I think we all get inspired by our students and our colleagues who are all very knowledgeable, and not just in their own discipline, but also about the industries that we want to get you into. But I suppose more widely in my life, I think to be studying the arts is to study a passion, really. And that's what's really great. If you do study within our school, everybody's got the passion for the subject, and you can make your hobby a career. If you think of filmmaking or social media, we're starting a new degree in social media this coming year, not this year, the one after, so starting September 2022. Writing, journalism, all these areas that are in my department. I think students come with a real passion for that, and that's inspiring in itself. But I think to immerse yourself in the arts, we're in London, which is a centre for the arts, and now that the pandemic has allowed it, we've returned to live performance, going to the cinema, going to art galleries. It's all open here, and I think that's how I inspire myself, and always have done. And as a student of the arts, That's what I loved, that I could do that, and that was part of my study, really, to understand how this all feeds in to film in my case, but obviously any of these art subjects. It's good to know about the different art forms, and the storytelling unites us all, I think, across the piece.
All right, thank you so much for answers from all of you. And yes, to the audience, if you have any questions, please do type it in the comment section, and I will go through it at the end of the discussion. And there's a student called PK who says hi to all of us. Hello, PK. Yep. All right, so moving on to the next question. What should students consider when they are making their decision on their course and university?
I can jump in on that one. I'm sure we're all going to say very similar things, but I would say really go with where your passion is, where your interest is. Start there, and then obviously then you need to explore what the fit is in terms of what your current experience and or formal qualifications might be for that particular course, but not to forget that your experience outside of formal qualifications is also important to us. So keep that both in view, and don't just kind of give up on the first hurdle, right? You might need to find a circular way to where you want to go, but there's usually a pathway to get to that course that really fits with what your interest and passion is.
100%. I think maybe I would jump in and also add that I'd say it's okay to ask questions. I think sometimes applicants forget that they can contact us if there's something specific. We have a wide breadth of courses within our department, Arts and Creative Industries. So it's okay to not really know where you want to go. As Natalie mentioned earlier on, that majority of these courses, segue into each other as you progress your career. And there are ways in which we can sort of resolve that as you go along. And when you ask questions, you will kind of maybe get a good gist of, okay, maybe I should just try this. A lot of it is just jumping. You never know where you're going to land, but you will land somewhere. And I think that's the excitement, really, just, I guess, stepping out in faith, I would say. But I'm sure you will enjoy it no matter what. And this may be something that helped me when I was looking as a student way back when, is not to pay attention so much to the name of the university. I would say actually pay attention to, look at the research of their tutors and your lecturers, find out what they're doing, and how that could support you in your development and your career as well, and if this is really aligning to where you want to go.
Yeah, I think that's really valid point, Beatrice, in terms of the choice of university. Every university in the UK is very different. It has its own culture, its own set of courses. Obviously, the lecturers, I think, who's going to teach you, as Beatrice said, is really important. But also how you're going to learn. And one thing that we do at UEL very well is active learning, particularly in the arts. You learn by doing, and that's not true at all universities. So I think that really is important. We are very modern in our approaches, and our staff also are very collegiate. So we work in a very bespoke way with students in fairly small groups, and that allows you to really be nurtured in terms of your own personality, your own passions, and your own identity. And just to say that again, that Beatrice mentioned, we are a very diverse community in all ways. And I think, it gives UEL very much a real culture of its own in that way. So very strong culture of acceptance. Yeah. Finish there.
And I can see on the chat that PK's asked about how to learn these type of skills, and that can vary in different countries, right, depending on what your education system is and what those routes are in. So we do talk and interview and give students opportunities that apply to us to show us what their experience is and have that conversation, and that so they may not have the formal qualifications, but they might have actually done out of school or out of college kind of extracurricular stuff that is supporting them. But we also offer foundation courses at level 3, and they really are aimed at people that maybe have a little bit of experience but are very passionate about our subject areas in media and fashion and performing arts, but haven't yet had the opportunity to build those skills. So there's 2 ways to join us, I suppose, at level 3 and at level 4, which would be the start of an undergraduate degree.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. The next question. All right. So the university has invested £18 million for its facilities. Can you please talk about the Connected Campus project and how it has impacted ACI students? So, yes. If any.
You want to take that, Natalie, and I can feed in?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start and then I'll pass over, because each of the areas have got kind of like different angles on this, I think.
Yes.
In the broad scope, much of the first stage of the Connected Campus meant that we now have many teaching spaces with additional technical cameras, etc. in them, which means we can move quite swiftly between online learning and in-person learning, on-campus learning, and everything in between. It's also enabled us to develop our very specialist technical kit. So in my area, that's like sound recording, video recording for performance, musical instruments. So really specialist kit that we need, and also to ensure that our rehearsal spaces and studio spaces have theatre lighting, for example, and sound decks and things like that. On a bigger scale, what one notices on our lovely campus is there's really exciting stuff happening every day in terms of reconfiguring the social learning spaces, the kind of collaborative learning spaces. And perhaps particular to our school, we have a new gallery space that's in development. We have a space that's going to be outward facing in terms of performance. And perhaps segueing over to Rosemary, we are also have been developing our TV and film resources. So maybe I'll pass over to Rosemary now.
Yeah, so basically that's been a lot of investment in the teaching spaces, thinking about how students learn in the modern day, and how, I mentioned already that we learn by doing, active learning. So, we don't teach anymore with sort of fixed seating and fixed computing, but it's gone over to a more flexible model. So we've got 3 new areas in our media spaces, if you like, that have laptop trolleys. So that means that's up-to-date computing that can be used by students who don't have their own laptop, that these are flexible, and also flexible for staff, that they can be used in different spaces and taken in specialist spaces if need be. And these areas, unfortunately, I can't show you pictures, are very modern and comfortable with sofas and that kind of thing. So it's about collaborative learning as well. We understand that you learn often by talking to each other. We do a lot of group learning as well. So having a nice space with a carpet where you can be comfortable, you can plug in your phone and all those sort of things is really important these days. So that's what we've been developing with this investment recently.
And I guess,
go
on.
Yes.
Now, just to add, I guess for fashion, we've also, and for the majority of ACI, we've also got the career zone, which has newly launched. So again, to support students in the development, not just when they graduate, but before they graduate, and getting them on par with their career ideas or where they want to go. In fashion specifically, we've invested in a large amount of new sort of technology and machinery to support more of an industrial and professional look to garment making, for instance. We've also got a lot more software, so Clo 3D, which some of you I'm sure have heard about, and it's just really developing clothing or collection using digital as opposed to always making. New printing facilities in our textile studios, and also a great sort of magazine or book archive room that's just newly been installed, which we'll be sharing with media in fashion journalism, for instance, and so much more.
Perfect. Sorry. So, just to sum it all up, we have 3 campuses with state-of-the-art facilities, and you can actually have a virtual tour to see each room, to see all the facilities, and like how Rosemary said about pictures and videos, there's plenty of them on our UEL website. So please do go visit it, and you can have an entire idea about UEL and its campus. Okay. So the next question is, what tips do you have for students to best prepare themselves for the sector during their studies? So this is during their studies.
So I'll jump in and maybe just talk about the career zone, as I just mentioned before. So we have a large offering within the university to support students in developing themselves for their career. That includes networking events, mentorship. We have a dedicated officer for ACI that sort of sits down with tutors to plan sessions on mentoring skills, I guess, and preparing them for their careers. We also have a newly implemented module called Mental Wealth. And so that really looks into supporting students in mental well-being in the actual professional workplace, but also very course specific to what processes are utilized in industry to ensure that they are progressing and being able to be supported as they go along in their career, which not a lot of, I guess, other institutions, or sometimes when you get into the professional workplace, you're actually being taught. So we're really, really preparing you. I guess we are a career focused and led university, and that's something that we have seen in our own career development, being industry professionals as well.
Thank you. So if Rosemary could.
Yeah. So what tips would I give? I mean, I think students that are successful at university, those who are proactive and kind of courageous as well, they go out there, they engage with everything that a university offers, and it's not just the timetable course. There's so many things going on at any one time at UEL. For example, you might want to get involved in some volunteering or even working for the university, and you can develop your work skills as you go along. I think those students, that'd be proactive. I mean, one thing in media, there's so many software packages available. Students get free access to the whole of the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, for example. That's a wonderful facility. Over the 3 years, it's worth thousands of pounds. Once you're in the world of work, you probably have access to it. But as a student, that's really brilliant. But use it. I mean, the other one is LinkedIn Learning. You've got access to the whole of LinkedIn Learning when you're a student. Some students don't bother, but the really successful one, the tip is use it, learn it. Use every minute of your time to develop yourself, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
So, we have 2 more minutes left. So, Natalie. Please.
Yeah, I would just reiterate all of that, and just to remember that the staff are the resource. They are an amazing resource, right? So remembering that your peers and your teaching team and everyone you meet in your experience are going to be your first network that you're building. So just to treat it like that from day one.
Right, perfect. So the last and final question, okay, is how do you see the future of your subject area? It's fashion, film, performing arts. How do you see the future of your subject area?
And we need fast fire right here. So I'm just going to jump in. And I think it really is about interdisciplinary working, collaborative working, being able to network, and really being aware of those enterprising skills that we're all going to need in any creative industry subject area.
Agreed. And to add to that, again, I think it's having a clearer mind, an open mind in culture and diversity, and sort of collaborative work as well, community.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with all that and say, convergence. getting involved in every area, crossing, like Natalie said, interdisciplinary. So film and games, for example, games and fashion, all coming together. You know, the boundaries are blurring. That's the future.
Well, thank you so much for answering all the questions. Yeah, I think that's about it. So if you need to get in touch with, so this is for the audience, if you need to get in touch with them, their details are there on the websites, and anything which you want to know, it's there on the UEL website. All right. Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks,
Everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.